And what a night for hockey. Oh my God, Alex Ovechkin has tied Wayne Gretzky 894, and he did it in less games, 1,400 86 games, and then Gretzky had 1,487 games to get to 894. And by the time Gretzky made it to that point, he was old and scoring about 6 goals a year. And that was actually kind of crazy. Ovi's got 41 goals on the season. He'll be in Long Island on Sunday, so be sure to check that game out. So Bettman and Gretzky will be there. The Howes, I think, are going to be there, and the Holmes are going to be there as well. So uh, you know where to watch good hockey, and that's on the NHL Network. So be sure to check that out. Um, so Ovechkin opened the scoring. He got a power play goal. Um, and but even though he could have gone on the ice to go get the empty net goal, he told his coach no. He told him no, and I think he knew that Ryan Leonard was going to score that goal for his first goal. And even though it's an empty netter, hey, you're in the NHL. You made a great move. You came straight out of Boston College. You got that goal. Shout out to Ryan Leonard on his goal. Absolutely. 100%. You know, I and oh my goodness, and I'm so glad that one of my friends actually just posted to Instagram. So I'm like looking up stuff while I see that though. But yeah, wow. Okay. Man, it is quite a night though. But he got his open the scoring. Bertuzzi, and I thought the Blackhawks could have won this game, and I'm thinking you can't have the Blackhawks win this. They're supposed to be the sacrificial lamb. Joe Beninati was making a joke about that, by the way. He said that, apparently the Blackhawks didn't get the notification that they were supposed to be the sacrificial lamb. But overall, Bertuzzi played well, Bedsy played well, Nick Foligno did well, and I think this was just turned out to be an excellent game to watch. That no one was whooping each other's, you know, butts in this exactly, but I do think that maybe the cat, I do think that it could have gone the other way had Lindgren not been as hot as he was. Even though he gave up 3 goals, he was in the net. He was hot. He was blocking everything. Shout out to Charlie Lindgren right there. So there's that. Um, Khrushchev, Dylan Strom got the okay, so there was a power play goal initially that I thought, oh, he got 894, but it was batted in by one of the Blackhawks defensemen. But Dylan Strom got that one, got that power play goal that hit for his 25th of the season, and then not too far in the distance later, Alexander Ovechkin gets his 41st of the season and his 894th. And he tied the record with Wayne Gretzky. That's the big news. Then he has so much class letting Ryan Leonard out there because he knows, I don't have to get it now. This kid just came up from Boston College. He's going to be the future of the franchise. Let him get this goal and let him work for it. And even though it was an empty net goal, he deked, he dangled, and he got it done in there. And and I think he still could have gotten it past Knight had Knight been on the ice, but he wasn't. But take your goals as you come. So this could have been so. Now, there's been a lot of significant events happening that happened in the DMV area over the decades. The Orioles won that World Series back in '83, but they were in Philadelphia, so I guess that does not count. Um, you know, Oriole Park being built and, the All-Star game in '93, that was pretty significant. Cal Ripken Jr. passing Lou Gehrig in consecutive games played. That was nothing's going to compare to that. And especially when that happened in Baltimore, you think back to that day. I was just a little baby on my dad's knee, and my dad watched it. Um, but this was still very significant. If it was 895, I think that moment could have surpassed it, but we did not get that though. But Ovechkin was a true gentleman on that ice, and he is, and that's who he is. And he let Ryan Leonard get that goal, and it was like, and I was like surprised when he told the coach, you know, when he said, "I don't want to go out, I don't want to go out," and I'm thinking like, "Oh my God, you can't go. You had to get out sooner, though." I mean, I think he wanted just Wayne Gretzky just to, you know, he told them in his weird way, shut up, come to New York with me. It'll be more significant if I do it against the Islanders, sort of thing. And maybe it is because their rivalry has dated essentially, since the '70s, since the late '70s, and they went, '90s even, and but not in the but and then they never. I actually don't recollect the Capitals actually beating the New York Islanders in the playoffs or in a series. I have no memory of that at all. But I think it would also be very significant too, um, because we're going to see a very special event, and UBS Arena is fairly new, you know, as well. So you have to consider, even that these two teams are more of a rivalry than Chicago and Washington, but Washington and New York. And let me tell you something, Washington sports have always, there's been rivalries with New York. We have, we had the Redskins and the Giants, and now the football, and not the football team anymore, but the Commanders, um, facing off against the Giants on multiple, playing in the same division. You see them every year. You have the Nationals going up against the Mets, since for 20 years, essentially. You have, Capitals against the Rangers and the Islanders, and you have the Wizards against the Knicks and technically the Nets at this point. But these teams, built great playoff hockey. They built it in the late '70s and the '80s, and and even up until the '90s. And it would be very great to see him do it against Ilya Sorokin as well, and he's going to shake the hands of his old teammates Varlamov. We'll see Varley there. That'll be very good. I mean, this hockey season has been great. The Blues won 11 straight. The Jets are flying high. All seven Canadian teams can get in. The Caps are already in at this point. Um, in the playoffs, and just and it is just a fun thing to watch though, and we just had the greatest experience though, and I know some Chicago Blackhawks fans, and they were supposed to be the sacrificial lamb of this, but Knight really didn't want to be that goalie. He was not letting Ovi in. There was not going to be a Ricky Henderson, being honored by Nolan. There was a moment in the MLB where Nolan Ryan struck out Ricky Henderson to get his 5,000th strikeout, but Ricky Henderson was honored to be that, yeah, to be the guy to be struck out by Nolan Ryan for his 5,000th too. I think, Knight would have probably had those feelings eventually, either after he retired or, a few years down the road. But but I think but I'm thinking that Sorokin's gonna be that guy. It's gonna be Sorokin, or unless things get bad and Varlamov's in there, that would even be more ironic too. But I think you know you got a lot there. I mean, Paul Mary's not gonna be lying down on this. He's not. Nick Foligno didn't lie down. It's gonna be a tough game. Isles have to still battle for position too at this point. I mean, it's not easy, with everything. And I'm gonna look up the standings real quickly of this and see where the Isles are not. Um, I mean, they are not quite there. The Rangers are gonna be there. I'm not sure where if the Isles are even gonna necessarily make it at this point. Um, but they've played 74 games. They have eight to go. A million and one things can happen at this point, and Detroit has to lose. I think I'm going to look up the score of that game real quickly. The Isles right now are beating the Wild 3-1 with 20 seconds to go. I'm not expecting the Wild to come back from that. The Red Wings just won their game 5-3. So a lot happening tonight on a Friday, right now. So, you're probably going to see this on Sunday morning. And honestly, even though I didn't play the intro to this, I don't care at this point. This is a video episode. This is going on the YouTube channel. We're talking about this here. We're not going to, since we did get to see, someone, get another 894 goals, as well, in any sport, it's rare to see that. We're not gonna. I don't think there's going to be another player to ever hit 700 home runs again. I think, we'll be lucky when Freddie Freeman gets to 3,000 too. And Miguel Cabrera was the last one to get to 3,000 in baseball. And I'm talking, and I like baseball as well. But, there's not, you know, we're going to get 500 goal scorers in hockey again. We're probably going to get there's probably going to be many players that come up and get 600, and we're going to have to move the goalpost again. Um, or, but I think 500 goals is going to be your benchmark for Hall of Fame glory at this point, as well as 500 assists. And if you do both of those, and regardless of what era you are in, you are essentially in the Hall of Fame, especially if you win a Stanley Cup like Lanny McDonald, you know, absolutely. So I'm actually very I'm actually more proud of Ovi saying, I'm not going out there now, and letting Ryan Leonard take it, because he wanted to pass the torch. He wanted to. I think he's going to play one more year. We're going to see him get to like 930 or 912 or maybe 940, another 940 though. But the NHL script writers have treated us right. We're maybe a team from the great country of Canada is going to win it this year. And, and I understand all the political climate that's been happening, and the four nations and everything. I I'm still glad that we've got this game in America, and we get to watch it in, whether it's in Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, Florida, you name the place, we get it though. And maybe there will be hockey that comes back to to Quebec City, and I hope it does. I think the NHL needs to go there at some point if it ever does expand to 36 teams, which is crazy. We're at 32. Another four would be insane. I'd take it that Arizona would be in the mix, though. But yeah, this has been an awesome night for hockey. Um, you know, New York and Minnesota, no one's gonna care about that, and you know, they'll forget about that mostly unless you're like SRS Mike, uh, from SRS Sports. And I like him. You should go subscribe to him. By the way, I have never been this proud of, you know, I mean, like I am so grateful that I got to meet Alex Ovechkin every day now because even though he could have gotten 895 tonight, he 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 definitely was thinking, I'm gonna let Ryan Leonard or the new guys or the younger squad or the lower lines get a chance at this because you think of your top line guys, you think of Michkov on the Flyers, you think of Kachuk or even Brandon Montour on the Panthers. You think of those guys. You think of Zegras in Anaheim. You, you know, we see, with the top guys, and in baseball, you have your top nine or top 10 players mostly associated with it. But, and it's very rare you get to see, the little guy do something special. But I'm glad that he let Ryan Leonard get that goal. I will. I think that that is just class. I'm not sure if Gretzky would have done it though. Remember Wayne Gretzky once, um, basically couldn't wait and just grabbed the Stanley Cup out of I forgot who it was even giving him the Stanley Cup after the Oilers won against, you guessed it, the New York Islanders for their first franchise Stanley Cup. But that was it, though. That was the moment. He was a bit selfish at that moment, but he just really wanted that Stanley Cup. And eventually, he got it. I mean, the Islanders gave him a run for their money in the year prior, but then the following year, the Islanders lost to the Oilers and thus created one of the greatest NHL dynasties. Essentially the Green Bay Packers of the NHL. At one point, they were referred to. The Pittsburgh Penguins, I mean, through everything that Ovi's gone through, I think I would rather have him win one more Stanley Cup than just, after all of this, the NHL scriptwriters will definitely be doing something special, though. Um, you know, I think they're going to be cooking up something great. Whether the Jets win or the Capitals win or one of the other six Canadian teams wins, um, and gets in, that's going to be special, though. Like I don't know if we're going to see an I'm joking here a bit though, but you cannot have something this spectacular. 20 straight seasons for Sidney Crosby getting at least averaging a point a game, though. It, I mean, like, who comes up with this stuff too? And like, oh, geez, I'm like looking at, I'm trying to look up everything though. Let's look at the league though. And right now they're at 107 points. The Jets only there though. Oh man. What a freaking, what a freaking man. My God. What a time to be alive, people. Oh, man. This is so good, though. But I'm trying to see if maybe the New York Islanders actually, and the Islanders just secured their next win. Um, Holmstrom did well. Dobson is a little bit of was a disappointment though, but I think the NHL script writers are going to write the New York Islanders out of everything though. Um, so Jackson Blake with Carolina. Patrick Kane got 20 goals this season. He is doing well, so there's that. Rasmussen, then there's that. Brinken did well, but um I'm like looking up on this on the phone right now. Please forgive me. And it's 10:11 too, so I'm a little tired though. So please forgive me. Just I mean, I'll tell you the story while I'm looking this up. Back in the day, um back in the day when I met Ovechkin, I was 22 years old working an internship, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take the day off from this. I don't need to be there. I'm I'm going to this. And I went and I made an amazing pass to him, and he's like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and shoot this from this amazing pass this kid did. And the reason why I was able to make such a hard pass on his tape was because I was playing, for this university, um, or I was coaching that university and still practicing with the team, just not even 6 months prior to that, and that is insane to think about. Um, when you're crazy about that though, but even though it was like, just scrimmage with special hockey kids, I am so grateful for that day every day. NHL stats leaders. Let's look this up here, and I understand. Regular season. All right, Nate McKinnon is your points leader right now. So 114 points. All right, let's go. Nate, one of my favorite players. Nikita Kucherov is there too. Draisaitl is up there, and McDavid is only at 90 points. So, script writers, what's your deal? Get it together. Leon Draisaitl is at 52 goals, so he's got the most goals of the year. Matthews is not even listed here at the moment. So there's that. Nylander on the Maple Leafs. Let's see what the Leafs can do right there. Alex Alexander Ovechkin is right now at third. I don't know where Tage Thompson is or Connor is. So Kyle Connor and Ovi going at it, that's going to be impressive. So not a lot of that there. And McKinnon also leads the assists at 83. Hey, if you get 83 assists, even without anything else, heck, I'll find a place for you on my team. Always, always right now. Oh my God, this is just incredible right now of everything. And McDavid's only at 64. Um, we've got a lot. We still the Islanders could do something in 8 games though. So they're not going to be taking this lying down. They are going to want to win. They are going, and if Sorokin gets hot, expect a shutout in New York. Only out on the island, man. You're not in the Apple. You're going to be out on the island. So there's that. My God. And 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 my beer league teammate, he's an Isles fan. Going to be amazing that I ever of what we're going to discuss on beer league tomorrow. You guys can wish me luck right there and on beer league. So I'm going to check the time there, but this episode is going to drop sometime tomorrow though. We face off against our rivals. I don't know. We're going to face off against our rivals at this point. So it's our last regular season game. I'm going to be looking to score. Your boy is going to score tonight, tomorrow night at 9. Get back on the point streak. And then we got playoffs. And then we've got so we have a 5-4 playoff at 7. I'm going on April 19th, so there's that. Um, and I got a lot of stuff to do though, but I am very glad that I did get to hear Joe Beninati and Craig Laughlin's voice one more time. All right, you know what? That'll do it for this episode of the Adam Rothstein Hockey Podcast. If you like this episode and want to support me, please check out the audiobook Growing Hockey. I worked very hard on this, and maybe sometime I will do something on NHL stadiums. I don't even know if what I would even count that as, but because you have a lot of stuff like Kansas City there, Cleveland had a team at one point, and Atlanta had essentially two teams already. Arizona's there, and I figure that you have had about 100 state arenas at this point, given the fact that most NHL teams have played in two buildings at, at this point. So definitely check out the audiobook. Also subscribe to the Substack, subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the links are there. You can follow me. Oh, and but purchase a journal though. Purchase a journal that on Lulu. That's going to really help me out more than anything else. So definitely check out the Lulu um, link on the hockey journal. That should be the last link um, there. Share the episode with your friends. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Rate this podcast 5 stars. And with that being said, y'all take care.